Now, I'm going to explain about the call center setting up process in Com1 Ip Pbx. It's almost, I mean, for an outbound as well as inbound, it's almost near same setup. Okay, now I'm going to explain about the agent master. Okay, here this is where you create your agent. The first screen, what you see is a display of all the agent, I mean, active agent as well as deactive agents. This shows which extension he has been assigned to and the password and things like that. So to edit an agent, you go click here and then you can change maybe, I mean, extension can be changed or a mobile number can be updated, email can be updated, or you can deactivate an agent. Okay, I mean, this is the process. In case of agent resigns, you come over here, deactivate and update. Okay, so that's the process as far as the first screen is concerned. And when a new agent is joining you, you need to add it over here, name, email, mobile number, and then whether it's an agent or a team leader, and status is active by default when you are entering for the first time. Okay. Now, only active agents will get displayed for login. A deactivated agent will not be displayed for agent login. And this is where you, load your team leader. Say you select your team leader, and then you can save. So it's basically you link the agent to the team leader over here. I mean, that's be useful for the analysis of team leader performance and things like that. Okay, now agent campaign link. So this is very critical because whenever you are using a login screen, that is a caller screen where the agent logs in, only the campaign that are linked to the agent will come in. Okay, so I will explain you how the campaign works. I mean, I think probably when the campaign thing comes. Okay, now here agent and then who are the agent. Okay, now category is an agent, whoever is linked to, and then which campaign. I mean, here the primary campaign will be shown. Okay, the category, the agent, you'll be able to link. And expertise. What is an expertise? Expertise is something where in an inbound call, this is more relevant to inbound call center, where you'll be able to map the calls based on the experience of the agent. Okay, so like typically if you want the best of the agents, you classify the agent as precious, super expert, expert, trained, trainee, and rookie. Like when the call center gets the start getting the call, or when the most experienced person is free, then the calls can be pushed to those agents. And then if when the experienced persons are not available, then you can push it to either a trainee or rookie. So this basically classification of, I mean, 6 levels of classification of expertise. So based on which this will be more useful for an inbound call center. So that sums up about how an agent master is created. It's a very, very simple creation. I mean, not much of a complication as far as the agent creation is concerned. Now the campaign master. Okay, see, there are 2 levels of campaign. Okay, now the primary campaign, where say for example, you may have a call center where you are associated with 2 to 3 sets of campaign. Probably one could be Airtel, one could be probably a credit call sales and things like that. So that forms a master campaign. That is a primary campaign. Okay, and there very basic informations are collected. Like you can add new here, the name, remarks about the campaign, start time and end time, ring timeout. How I like typically here, if it is a progressive dialing, how long it should ring before it disconnects the call and goes to the next call. Okay, and then the campaign, whether it's inactive or deactive or active. So that's about it. Now here, here you will be able to edit that, like why there is a start time and end time. See, for a progressive dialing, it doesn't matter because the agent has a complete control of whenever he wants to log out or she logs out, because the next call will not be dialed unless you are in the campaign. You'll be able to log out of a campaign much before the next call gets dialed. Whereas in a predictive campaign, calls keep on coming because it anticipates a number of agents. I mean, whoever is logged in, and it keeps on dialing in the background and keep pushing the calls whenever agent gets free, or the moment he or she probably completes the disposition of the previous call. So at the same time, how do you, like, suddenly you can't like, for example, if at the time of logout, like if your call center stops working at 6 o'clock, the call should stop dialing at 6 o'clock. So typically that's why you fix up a start time and end time. And even if say here the start time is 9:30 in the morning and end time is 19, so even if agent logs in at 9 o'clock, the calls will not get dialed. It will start, even if the agents are free, it will not get dialed. So the call starting will start only at 9:30, and it ends exactly at 7 o'clock. So even if the agents are logged in, unless you change this time, the calls will not go through. Okay, so that's the primary. As far as an ACD is concerned, an inbound call center is concerned, the primary campaign as well as secondary campaign, both are the same, because you don't really import any data into for dialing many things. Here, depending upon the data, you do analysis. So you create the secondary campaign to manage that. Okay. Now, disposition. See, for each and every campaign, there is a primary disposition as well as a secondary disposition. The primary disposition, what we follow, I mean, in fact, the primary disposition, we have 5 major disposition. Probably I'll explain you in the help menu. What are the standard disposition what we follow? This will actually be relevant for most of the business applications. The standard disposition, as far as Com1 is concerned, it is no response. The caller does not answer the call. Okay, so this is more relevant for in a progressive dialing, where when you call up, you tend to listen to the ringback tone, and if the caller does not pick up, you dispose the call as no response. While in predictive dialing, as only the completed calls get connected, no response is actually put at the background. So the system will not connect the calls that is ringing. So this, wherever it will push only the matured calls to the agent. So to that extent, no response is automatically disposed by the server, by server itself. Funnel is a near sales completion process. So you have something called successful, where the order is finalized. Okay, so that is the ultimate for all the agents who work for. But funnel is something where customer has engaged in a conversation towards successful completion of the business, but then he wants some time to just complete the process. So funnel, the moment the agent classifies as funnel, that follow-up will be done only by the agent. Okay, so that lead will be allotted to the agent and will be treated separately, because it's a near completion of business. Okay, it is just one step above, or rather lower, to a successful completion of business. Unsuccessful, this is basically customer says I'm not interested in the product. Okay, so that's treated as unsuccessful. Reschedule is more like just a casual request to call up later. Okay, like typically the call, you call up someone and he says I'm traveling or busy in a meeting, you call up after 3:30 or whatever. Okay, so when you dispose a call as reschedule, it's a very basic disposition. But since the customer is requested as reschedule, this will be classified as reschedule. At the time when the customer is requested callback, the calls will automatically be dialed. In case if it is a predictive dialing, it will be dialed and connected to any agent who is free. Okay, so here it is more like a fresh call only, just that the customer requested another callback at a particular point of time. No major, it is not like a funnel where the customer is engaged in a conversation with an agent, and it is near completion of business. So that will be treated separately, and only that agent can make a call back to the customer, so that a seriousness towards that needs to be done. So that is why a funnel is treated that way. And reschedule is a simple reschedule, which it's treated like a fresh call, but then it will be allotted to any other agent. Okay, blacklist. At times, most of the calls, customers would say that please don't call me again, or things like that, or the customer is shouting or abusing the agent. So if you dispose it off as a blacklisted number, even if that number comes in various other campaigns, as many databases have repetition of these numbers. So, there's no point in you, dialing the customer again and again. So once you blacklist the number, the entire across the call center, no calls will go. I mean, no outbound calls will go, or no inbound calls will come from that customer. So it is blacklisted forever till the time you remove that number manually. Okay. Now, custom. See, these are standard disposition, whatever I said. Typically, no response, funnel, successful, unsuccessful, reschedule. These are the standard disposition. Blacklist is, by the way, disposition, where it is not a disposition. It doesn't, matter in the process. Typically, you only prevent calls to going to the same number again in a different campaign or whatever. So custom is more like in case if your sales process, or if your service process, or if your process does not fall within these 5 dispositions, the customer is free to design their own disposition. But then none of the standard reports, whatever we give, which is standard part of our call center suite, will not actually display any information. So the customer can design their own reports, and then you need to actually but the standard caller package or agent login screen cannot be used. You need to probably take a customized agent screen, or you can develop your own screen based on our APIs and manage your own reports. Okay, so this is about the disposition. So now coming back to the agent, this is where the secondary remarks are created. Say for example, say for example, the customer reschedule. The customer is busy, meeting, driving, call back. So what is the primary disposition is reschedule, while the secondary remarks is, you normally, why do we have a secondary remarks? Okay, you can leave it open, but then a busy can be classified into, each and everyone will put it in a different meaning. So, normally we suggest that even the secondary disposition, the remarks are actually classified. So that is why the disposition comes over here. Like for unsuccessful, the customer says, do not disturb, not interested, number invalid. Successful is successful, funnel is funnel, and no response is no response. So these are the secondary disposition which are linked to the campaign master. So the dispositions, you don't have to do this exercise again and again. So, you do it in the primary campaign, so that how many ever campaigns you create, these things become standard. Okay, so because it doesn't vary, based on different, the secondary campaign is more of a, and as a byproduct of the primary campaign. And the standard processes do not change, like the starting time or ending time, or the disposition things does not change. Okay, now this is where you import database. Okay, so in database we have a typically 6 data we take: name, mobile number, email. The most critical is the mobile number. Okay, because that is where you need to ensure that there are no special characters, and always stick to the 10-digit a number to be put there. Okay, so so that there is no calling problem. And user data 1, user data 2, user data 3. See, but this is where we'll be able to handle, the standard caller will handle only 3 datas. Okay, where which gets displayed when the call pops up on a caller screen, which probably I will explain it to you in another session. Okay, so how a caller thing works. So here only 3 data is handled as per the standard thing. But if you want more data, like for example, you are doing a collection process, and you need to have more than 20-30 data, then you may have to buy a customized version of our agent panel, and then you'll be able to handle how many ever tabs or whatever you want to do in the import process. So here it gets imported as it's basically a CSV format. No other format is expected for import. You select the campaign name, whatever the active campaign name, you choose the file, and then you import. Okay, so it quickly gets imported to the campaign and assigned to the campaign. Okay, now this is a create campaign. So this is typically how do you create a sub campaign or a secondary campaign for a primary campaign. Okay, so what it does is it actually gets to, whenever you load the screen, it gets to know the complete data. So this gives a complete information about what is the current status of all campaign. Okay, now totally there are about 5,18,484 databases available for this particular customer. Okay, if you really see, these are the active campaigns: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 campaigns. These are the campaigns to which an agent can actually log in. Okay, now what does it indicate in this? Okay, I mean any campaigns on pause. So if you can campaign a complete thing, you can actually pause an entire campaign so that it doesn't get displayed over when the agent logs in. Okay, so that will be, you'll be able to pause or unpause over here. Okay, now these are the things which indicates. Okay, there's a campaign code, and PD indicates predictive, PR indicates progressive. So you'll be able to change it here. So when you click this button, it actually gets changed to progressive. Okay, so once you change it to progressive, depending upon the agent login, even the dialing starts happening here. And the trunk, so you'll be able to assign a trunk over here. I mean, you can change the trunk and what CLI at times, like due to frequent calling, people actually blacklist it in with the remarks or whatever in Truecaller, and then the customer stop picking up the call. So you can change the CLI in case if you have a SIP line or a PRI line. You have 100, 200 DIDs allotted to you. So you can keep changing DID every 15 days so that, the blacklisting doesn't happen, the call maturity gets better. So you'll be able to change the trunk. In case if you have multiple trunk, you can actually assign a different trunk for a different campaign. Okay, the speed at which it gets dialed. See, this is basically, speed is something where it is directly proportional to the abandoned calls which you set. Okay, so at the time of this is actually an automated process. Okay, so you set it in the primary campaign. So in case if you do not say, for example, a collection process, you generally don't like to have a higher speed, because you don't want much of a abandoned calls. Abandoned calls is something where, see, predictive dialing is more on it actually predicts that so many agents will be free when the call comes, because on the background it keeps dialing. So if there are 10 agents, it's a 10-seater call center. Depending upon number of agents who are free, it keeps dialing at the background and then connects. The time when the call is connected, the customer says hello and there are no agent, the customer disconnects the call, it is treated as an abandoned call. So if in a sales process, normally, customer wouldn't mind, because if the abandoned call is very low, that if you set only 5% abandoned call, the agent wait time increases. Okay, so if you set abandoned calls at 25%, which means out of 4 calls, 1 can get abandoned. You don't really matter, but then you want it directly impacts the performance of the agent. So if the higher the abandoned percentage, the caller's wait time gets reduced. Okay, so to that extent, but the productivity of the agent goes up. So typically this will determine, the speed of this will determine how many calls an agent attends in a day. If you keep the abandoned percentage low, probably 200, and if you keep it high and then you don't really let even a second gets wasted, okay, probably you can get even up to 400 calls in a day. So depending upon the process, you set up the speed of this. This is an automated process. You only set the abandoned percentage on the primary campaign. So this gets set automatically based on that. So currently, how many data is available, or how many data, the count of data, what has been imported. Okay, so how many successful dispositions are there, how many funnel dispositions are there, how many rescheduled dispositions are there, and how many no responses are there, how many unsuccessful are there, and any paused data, how much ever is paused data. And this is a pending data. If you really look at it, this particular base has even 9,181 count of data is pending, while even if you activate this and if agent logs in into this, there is no pending data available unless you recycle this, say the n recycle. Okay, so no response is something which keeps going. So if you do n recycle, all the no responses will start getting dialed. Okay, so I'll just give an example here. See, typically the agent G3N, there are no response calls of 7583. So I do recycling of no response. Okay, it refreshed. So if you notice here, now it will go through that. Okay, now if you really see this campaign, now no response is 0 while pending is 7583. So now these calls which has not been answered will start getting dialed again. Okay, so that's no response this thing. Okay, now trunk I told you. Okay, now delete the campaign. So once you delete the campaign, when you delete the campaign, all the data, please ensure if you actually press report, it gives you the complete data on an Excel format. Yeah, just see here. So before you delete a campaign, whatever you have exported, okay, so whatever data you have imported, you have the details of all the calls that has been made here. See, now this is a row ID. Okay, now you really look at the campaign code, campaign, the mobile number, who actually attended the call, what is the disposition, rescheduled time, and the remarks, when was a call made, how many call count was done. So all those data are actually exported over here. Okay, so before you delete, you can always take the data of that and then you can actually delete it. Okay, so what happens if you delete the process? So only the reschedule calls, only the funnel calls will stay. The rest of the data will be deleted. So funnel calls, since it's part of the sales process, okay, the funnel calls will still remain and it will delete the rest of the data. Okay, trunk I've explained. Kill duplicate. Okay, now for example, you have by default or by mistake, you have imported the data twice. If you press K duplicate, it deletes any duplicate data. Like, you wouldn't like to, in an outbound call center, you really don't want to have the same call being made to 2 different people by mistake. So database may have the same person's name 2-3 times. So, if you press K duplicate, kill duplicate, it will kill and then retain only one data available. The earliest data will be retained, not the later data. And N recycle explain, and this pause, and the change gives you an option to change from a predictive to progressive mode. Okay, so that's about it. Okay, now this is data management. Okay, so here what happens, you have a retired base. Okay, and then you want to move all the funnel calls to but this is basically data imported, or it is on a missed call. I mean, see, this also manages the missed call data. So imported. Okay, so here there is no data available, or rather I will say funnel. Okay, now I'll say no response. Okay, now see, if you really look at it, you have various options how you want to do. You can either recycle, okay, or change to a different campaign. Okay, so you can move this data to a different campaign. You can pause, unpause, or data merge. Okay, so all these options are available in create campaign option. Okay. Okay, so that's about it. Now here you can add how do you add campaign? Very simple. What is a primary campaign? Database name. See here, generally you'll be the customer will be buying a lot of database, so you generally put it as a database name, which will give you an idea when you see the campaign created name. If you really see, it's a senior citizen base. So PD is the type of the campaign, and then there's a primary name of the campaign, and this gives the database name for you to identify. And these three, at times customers, what they do is they actually buy the same database. If they put the same, there has to be uniqueness. So this is added by us to maintain the uniqueness. Even if your primary, secondary, everything remains the same, the uniqueness to be maintained. So we give this particular thing added to it in the database name. And then NDNC filter, you really want to do that. Of course, it has no functional thing. Earlier, we were having a server to filter the NDNC filter, but then we stopped it. Okay, it was not sustainable for us to maintain. It was really ineffective. So, but then predictive or progressive. Okay, if it is predictive, then you have to give a campaign ID. Okay, if it is progressive, no campaign ID, because it needs to know to which campaign the call needs to be forwarded. So that's about it. Now comes the agent live report. Okay, so here if you really see, it's flashing here, which means that the call is ringing over here in 226. The agent is not picking up the call for the last 21 seconds, 22 seconds. Okay, while 219 is an extension that is free. Okay, and 209 is already talking for the last 24 seconds. So this is a live data. Okay, so 222 is actually talking on a call for the last 1 minute and 36 seconds. So T is the total number of calls attended. Okay, now typically Anita has attended 159 calls, out of which 157 has got matured. Okay, the dispositions based on successful funnel, reschedule, the count of each and everything will be put over here. AHT is average handling time. It is basically the total time of the call he or she has attended, total time of call, which you can see it over here in time of calls divided by number of calls. So this indicates how long an agent on an average speaks to the particular call. So generally, this determines, typically it matters, it varies from industry to industry. So you cannot say which is right or which is wrong. Okay, this is basically an indication. Okay, now basically if you have a lower AHT in a collection scenario, then obviously you can call it as ineffective. So depending upon your campaign, you can find some relevance towards that. Otherwise, you can't judge an AHT on a broad basis and say lower AHT is bad or higher AHT is good. So it depends. It gives you an indication of how long does an agent talk on an average to a call. So you can derive your own judgment based on your application. Okay, this is a very, very critical thing. Average wrap-up time. So how long does an agent take to dispose the call after the call is completed? If you really look at it, Anita, who has got only 23 seconds, which means she disposes the call quickly and be ready for the next call, while 1 minute and 18 seconds is unacceptable. Alagaraja and Robin. Okay, see, if you really see, Anita has attended 159 calls. Okay, and you really see here, Priya, she has the lowest of AWT, 13 seconds. So she is quick in dispersion. She has attended 198 calls. Okay, so she's one of the most productive agents over here. So she disposes the call quickly and gets ready for the next call. So the AWT, anything above 30 seconds is unacceptable. That will invariably impact your productivity. Anything above 30 seconds. So I mean, typically here you can see 13 seconds. I mean, Priya. Okay, so that really gives a very good this thing on that, throws her on a good note. While Robin is 1 minute and 17 seconds. I mean, this agent needs to be monitored. And now time on call. Okay, now here this gives a complete data of the number dialed, which database. Okay, what time the call came, what is the this agent code, and then how long he or she spoke, what is the disposition, whether the complete caller or the SRC is the time of the call. Okay, a call start and then the data entered. Okay, so this gives an idea about whatever calls she has been disposed. Okay, now time on break. When and all they went for a break. So she, I mean, like typically the agent logged in at 9:31. Okay, and then for follow up, follow up is typically to follow up the funnel call. So where he or she manually does. Okay, so she was on just 2 minutes for a follow up call. Same way at 18 to 20 follow up call. He or she logged out for a particular reason, whatever. I mean, then basically she was on idle for 4 minutes and then logged out. So that's the current status. So this gives you a complete idea about how long. Like typically a time on break was 43 minutes. Here Alagaraja is on break for 1 minute, 1 hour and 21 seconds and things like that. What is LTC? LT is the likely time on call. This basically indicates how long the percentage on percentage basis, the gap between the time of login and now. So if you really see, Anita has been on call for 39% of the time. Okay, even the best performing Priya has been on call for only 34% of the time, while she was on break for 17% of the time. So this gives an indication of the percentage of time they've been on call. Okay, the call, that's the basic indication. So this should be at least 50% and above. Okay, anything less than 50% is unwelcome. Okay, so that's about the agent live report. And then report export. So we will in detail explain about it in a different session. Okay, so the dead reports. Okay, and then this is where you'll be able to log in or log out any agent. Like for example, you want to log out an agent forcefully and call her for a meeting, you can just do log out over here so that they stop receiving calls. Or some agent has come in. Okay, and this will be useful typically for manual disposition. You don't have a computer. Okay, you are using an IP phone to attend the calls or dispose the calls. Then this is the only screen where you can log in and log out an agent. Okay, and then this is a voice logger. Typically here this gives an idea about how the complete call data. Okay, so this loads. So today, okay, now you can filter it. It all takes so put search. The basic date filter is more than enough. Okay, now it filters all the calls and then throws all the data. Yeah, so this is what it is. So Priya, this gives complete call data. The number, I mean, there'll be a lag of for 10 minutes in terms of filling up the data. That's why, some reports you find some 4 to 5 calls missing with the number. Okay, so it will take some time. So if you press this, this will actually play. Okay, now you can listen to the conversation. Okay, now you can filter also. Say for example, you want to filter data, say 63, any number ending with 6308. Okay, you can search. So it will quickly come. Same way you can also do a disposition. You can filter the thing based on disposition. You can filter based on agent, any specific thing. So that's about it. So this sums up of how a call center is set and how a call center is run. I'm sure with this video you'll be able to manage your call center much better. Thank you.